Welcome to a new podcast. My name is Ian Said, but most people know me as Tacho, and today we have the pleasure to talk with Cyrus Gharakhanian, better known as Cagt. With the community being his number one priority since 2015, Cagt managed to help not only small communities like the ones in Massachusetts and Europe back in Smash 4, but now he's known as one of the major TOs in the Smash community and has run tournaments, written guides, helped with rankings, among other helpful things. Cagt has been a key part of this community in almost every aspect, and I'm super proud that he's now in this podcast. Hi, Cagt, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much again for bringing me onto this podcast. I'm just trying the best I can for the community, and I've been around for a while, not as long as other people have, but I've done a lot while I'm here, and I'm very glad to be helping the community.
Of course, I'm glad you're doing okay. I'm glad to hear everything you can say. Do you want to start with the questions?
You said you want what questions do I want to start with?
Do you want to start with the questions, to answer the questions?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead.
Awesome. So I wanted to start the podcast knowing about your past with the game itself. How long have you been playing Smash? More in like a casual aspect.
So I've been playing Smash ever since I was a kid. I remember playing Smash 64 with my brother and friends when I was a little kid, and I went through all the games growing up. I got Melee, I got Brawl, and I always played it just all the time, but I didn't learn about the competitive scene until I want to say around 2013, 2014. To give you a reference, I really started learning about the competitive scene when Leffen first started beating all the gods in Melee during Apex. That's when I first learned about Smash. Again, I started off just following Reddit, just like everyone else. Like I would go on Reddit on our Smash Bros, and I would see like regular posts about Melee, and that's how I kind of got more not involved in the scene, but just that's how I started just finding out what competitive Smash was. And in 2015, when I graduated from high school and got into college, I found a Smash club at my university, and through them, I ended up finding out about local tournaments. I ended up finding out about tournaments in Boston, and I ended up attending more and more. And just, over the months, I just became really involved in the community, and I would go to tournaments every week, like multiple times a week, and I just fell in love with it, and I fit right in. It was I made a bunch of friends, and I just kept going from there. So yeah, no, I've Smash has been a part of my life ever since I was a little kid.
Awesome. Here we have in the chat, Balls Gaming, I think it is Sweden. Cagt, strongest man in France. And hola Google, que está viendo esto. Google is probably one of the best Link mains in Argentina. Well, do you remember your first tournament? Like, how was the venue? With what characters did you play? How was everything? Did you have fun?
My very first tournament was there was this church in Boston, like a very small church in like center of Boston, where I would go to the weekly every Thursday, I believe, and it was like a very small, I think 15 or 20 person tournament, so very small, very chill. And I played Little Mac, that's the character that I always enjoyed playing. And I went, like most players, I went 0-2. I got completely destroyed. I was not good at the game. I was your very typical, spamming smash attacks and just dashing around the stage, like not really knowing how anything worked. So I was I remember too, because before going to the tournaments, I would play on For Glory all the time, and I in my mind, like a lot of casual players, I thought that my win rate on For Glory was actually meant something, and I very quickly find out that it didn't mean anything at all, and that even if I had like an 80% win rate, like you're not good at the game. Like there's people that are way better than you. So I had to learn the hard way, but it was really fun. But yeah, I got destroyed my first tournament.
Yeah, that happens to most of us.
Yeah.
where does the tag Cagt come from?
So Cagt is actually that's my initials. It's not. A lot of people think it's like a reference to. I think it's like a biology reference, but it's each letter stands for like it's my full name. So my full name is Cyrus Alex Gharakhanian Chubak, which is my first, middle, last, and my mother's last name. And the way I came up with that tag is when I was around 9 or 10 years old. When I first started watching like a lot of like French YouTubers, I wanted to start making YouTube videos myself. And obviously I was a little kid, so all I really knew how to do was just put a camera in front of my TV and just film myself playing video games. And when I made my account on YouTube, I needed a username, and I didn't really have a lot of inspiration. You know, I was thinking of like very generic names, you know, at the time, you know, something like a 10-year-old would think of. And I really didn't know what to come up with. And I thought like, okay, well, what if in my head, I took the initials of my name, and when I was a kid, actually, I used to pronounce it as C-A-G-T. I would pronounce each letter because I thought it sounded cooler, and I thought it sounded more like edgy or whatever. And my brother would always tease me by just calling me Cagt instead of saying C-A-G-T. He's like, oh, hi, Cagt. And I'm like, and I would get mad at my brother because I'm like, no, it's pronounced C-A-G-T. Like, 10-year-old me was like super convinced that's how you're supposed to pronounce it. And eventually, over the years, like, I kind of gave up, and I was like, fine, you can call me Cagt, I guess. And so when I went to my first tournament, like, the tournament organizer asked me, oh, what's your tag? And I was like, oh, well, I don't really know what my tag is. And I was like, I guess I'll just put in Cagt, because that's what I know. Like, that's the only nickname I had. And it just stuck with me, and I'm now just like, it's gone to the point now where even my family and some of my childhood friends call me Cagt, because, like, that's what a lot of people know me by. Like, it's become like a second name for me.
Of course.
So it's a really fun backstory.
Yeah. Yeah, most tags currently in the Smash days, it has like a deeper meaning, or maybe just doesn't, and it's like, oh no, I just went to randomize tag on Google and here's my tag now. Or no.
Yeah, I do.
No.
Yeah, I remember on back in the Xbox Live days, there was like a button to like randomly generate a gamer tag, and I know a lot of people in the Smash community that got their tags from that Xbox Live generator. It's really funny when you think about it.
I don't want to think about that. From all the characters in the game back in Smash 4, why did you choose Little Mac?
You know, Little Mac was my I played the Punch-Out games, not as a kid, but just after playing Little Mac and Smash, I eventually bought the original Punch-Out, but I never was really attached to the series that much. I played Little Mac because I've always loved boxer characters in video games. So for example, in Tekken, my main character is Steve. And whenever I play Street Fighter, I usually play Balrog. So like, I've always enjoyed playing boxing style characters. It's what I've been the most comfortable with. It's what I found the most fun. So when I saw the trailer for Little Mac in Smash 4, I fell in love with it, and I thought this is super fun. And when I picked him up in tournaments, I was like, yeah, this is my character. Now obviously, Little Mac's not very good. It's not a very good character, and I originally thought that maybe I could prove that like Little Mac is like top tier, or like, oh, he's not as bad as everyone thinks. Unfortunately, he's still a bad character. I can't do anything about that, but like, it's what I love doing. I also use a lot of Roy nowadays, and again, I actually got into Roy when I saw all the top Roy players in Smash 4, you know. When I saw the player The Flow from France, when I saw Hyper Kirby, when I saw all those great Roy players, I thought Roy was like, his gameplay was really fun. And I eventually picked him up as a secondary, and I had a lot of fun with him. And around the time that 2GG Fire Emblem Saga happened, one of the local tournaments in Boston had a Fire Emblem only bracket. And I said, you know what, I'm going to enter just for fun, and I'm going to play Roy. And I did okay, but like, I had a lot of fun playing Roy, and I'm like, okay, I really want to play this character more. And so I picked up as a secondary in Smash 4, and then now in Ultimate, I main both Little Mac and Roy, so those are the two main characters that I play.
back in Smash 4 and currently in Ultimate, I guess, you're one of the most prominent members of the so-called Mac Nation. How do you found out about this group? If it is a group.
So, yeah. So, when I got into Smash, like I wanted to get better with Little Mac, and I wanted to find like other Mac players in the community, and so I eventually found the Little Mac Discord in Smash 4, which in the very beginning was actually the Twitch sub Discord for Soul, actually the famous Mac player, and eventually we kind of ourselves from Soul's Twitch channel and made our own community. And I don't remember how we came up with the name, but eventually the name of Mac Nation became like popular, and like we really liked that name for some reason. And so that's what we called our community, was Mac Nation. And as I became more involved in the Smash community and as I started helping out more, I eventually just became more of a figurehead and more of a leader amongst Mac Nation. And I started representing the character more, and I started doing more for the Mac community. So I made like the Mac Nation power rankings, for example, and we made a bunch of like YouTube videos and everything. So, it really just it just happened over time naturally. I just got more involved and just things developed as they are now. So I don't compete as much as I do in Ultimate. I'm more focused on organizing tournaments. But yeah, in Smash 4, I was definitely very, very active with competing.
Here in the chat we have Tsubasa as well. He's one of the best joker memes in Chile. How are you, Tsubasa? Going to the next question, how do you feel your trajectory was throughout Smash 4?
I would say it was definitely it definitely took a long time for me to get to like a very high level. I obviously playing a low tier character like Little Mac makes things harder, makes things more challenging. And I didn't really have a dedicated like training partner, and I didn't have like a grind. So I wasn't in the Ryuga Court, for example. I wasn't in I didn't really have a group of people to really train with. I didn't really have a coach, at least in the beginning, to really ask for advice. I was kind of just on my own, and I had to figure out how to play the game better on my own. So it took a long time, really, but eventually, towards the later half of Smash 4, I started traveling a little bit more, and I figured that I think playing against the same players in New England held me back, in the sense that I was playing against the same kind of play styles, I was playing against the same characters, the same players, and I wanted to get more variety. So I started going to New York more. I started traveling to more majors, to Florida. I started going to Europe as well to get more experience. And I think through that, I improved a lot more traveling to other majors and traveling out of region than playing within New England specifically. So it definitely took a long time, but I think traveling helped me a lot with that.
How was your experience like when Ultimate was announced, specifically the teaser of Inkling and obviously E3?
So when Ultimate came out, at first I wanted to focus more on playing, and I wanted to focus on tournaments more. But about a month after Ultimate came out, I moved to Florida, and specifically in Gainesville, Florida. And when I moved to Gainesville, I found out that there were a lot of things missing with the local scene. I found out that there wasn't really like a structure, and there wasn't really there wasn't really anyone that was focusing mainly on TOing, and I think the events were the community was missing a lot of different things. And so I stepped up and really helped the community grow, and I really became like a prominent TO in Gainesville. And I think as I started focusing more on TOing in Gainesville, I didn't have as much time to play, and I didn't have as much time to practice, so I fell behind a lot. When everyone was learning the game at the same time, I really fell behind. And I went to Genesis actually right after Ultimate came out, and I went 0-2. I didn't win a single set, which was really it made me really sad, because I was like, what happened, right? Like I went from being this really strong player to going 0-2, and I started questioning myself a lot, like, am I just not good at this game? Like, is there something missing? And I eventually trained a lot, and I got some of my level back in the beginning of Ultimate, but I was so caught up in TOing, and I was like so caught up in really growing the scene in Florida that I eventually put competing aside. And I said, you know what? I think right now the scene needs me to TO, and I have other priorities right now, and I need to focus on those. And I also wanted to really build a career for myself, and then really find a way, thinking of it long term, because it's really hard for players to make a living off of Smash. You can't just make a living off of winning tournaments. You have to stream, you have to make YouTube videos, and I figured that going into tournaments was a little bit more viable. Obviously, you can't make a ton of money from making tournaments either, but to me, I thought it was a better path and then competing, and so that's why I eventually slowed down tournament from competing and just went into organizing tournaments. So
good answer, of course, but my question wasn't actually that. My question was, how was your experience before Ultimate was getting in the trailers of Ultimate, the hype and everything.
Oh, my apologies. Yeah.
It's alright. Don't worry.
I mean, I liked Ultimate a lot. Like, looking at the trailers, I was really excited for it, and especially when when all the new characters got announced. I was like, first of all, seeing all the characters in Ultimate, like seeing everyone come back from the series was insane, because we were all speculating, what character was gonna get cut, what characters were gonna come back, what new characters are we getting. So like when I saw like Inkling and everything, I was like, this is absolutely insane that we're getting like so many different characters. So, and even now, like we're getting like, we had Sephiroth in the game, we have Min Min, we have Banjo-Kazooie, we have Joker. Like it's crazy to me. I would never expect to have so many different series all in one game.
Which characters would you like to see as playable characters in Ultimate, now that there's just 2 other characters that are going to be in this game?
Yeah, I can't. I mean, I would love to see I would love to see a character from Devil May Cry make it. I would love to see Dante make it in Smash. I would love to see I know Master Chief is a very commonly requested character. I know the character from Doom is also very popular. Maybe from Tales of Symphonia, the Tales games as well, like Tales of Symphonia. Maybe Chrono Trigger. Like, there's so many characters, man. So many characters.
Honestly, when I'm in this kind of podcast situation and people say like Dante or say like, I don't know, like Crash or other characters, I'm kind of like weird out. Like I'm in other type of zone, because I ask for a PC rep, because people are asking for another for a Sony rep, for another Capcom or anything else. I'm like, what about a League of Legends character or World of Warcraft character?
Oh, dude, that would be so fun. I mean, I can't even imagine how much the game would blow up if someone from like League of Legends or Overwatch or Fortnite or something, or Warcraft even, like got into Smash. Like that would be mind blowing. Like I personally love the Warcraft series. Not World of Warcraft, but more so Warcraft. Like Warcraft 3 was one of my favorite games in middle school. I loved playing that with my friends, and obviously, like I don't even know, like that would be insane. I know there were rumors of like Fortnite eventually coming to Smash, but I can't even imagine what it would look like.
Here, Goal is asking in Spanish, so I'm just gonna translate it. I would like to ask him, what does he think about the priorities to grow a scene in a region? It is creation of content, if it is financially stable, etc.
So it's hard to say that there's one specific part of growing a scene that's important, because everyone has different priorities and everyone's looking at different things. So for example, I personally focus more on tournaments. So I personally think that the best thing to do is to organize the best possible events for your community, and make the events as welcoming to new players as possible, because everyone looks at the big tournaments like Genesis, Evo, Super Smash Con, etc. But when the community first started, we didn't just have Genesis. Like, we didn't just come up with 5,000 entrants out of thin air. We had to start somewhere, and every community, everything in Smash started from these local tournaments. It started from your small weekly with 10, 20, 30 people. So I think the most important thing is to make your local weeklies as fun and welcoming as possible.
Of course.
And I think from there, you can kind of work on expanding and improving those events. So, for example, having a nice stream for them, having VOD, so like videos for people to look for people to look back on. I think having like an active Discord community, having an active Twitter community, small things like that, getting the word out about your community, I think those are important. But I think the most important thing is if your local community is happy, then the community itself will work on spreading the word and making sure other people get into the scene and know about it. I don't think content is the main priority. I think local tournaments are the main priority.
Yeah, of course. So is there a player that you like to watch in particular? It could be from Florida, it could be from Europe, it could be any player or different players in general.
I'm in Ultimate. There isn't really one specific player that I personally am like a huge fan. I mean, there's a lot of players that I like watching, but I would say some of my favorite players that I liked watching over the years are, my favorite is definitely Isaiah by far. He's always been like my favorite player growing up, my favorite 64 player. The whole mentality of don't get hit. As much as we like to joke around with that, I just love everything about Isaiah. I like Leffen a lot too. I like Armada a lot. I think the two Swedish players they're some of my favorite players of all time. I have a lot of respect for MK Leo as well. I have a lot of respect for Soul. Those are some of my favorite players in the community. So obviously I know Soul doesn't compete as much, and I know Isaiah also isn't as active. I know he streams a little bit, but those are some of my favorite players. Here
in the comments we have Killer Kid 6175 that says, "I love you, Cagt." Oh.
I love you too, Killer Kid. Killer Kid's great. I love him so much.
Awesome. So from all the scenes you've been part of in the last 6 years, which ones do you think are the most underrated?
Which teams do I think are the most underrated?
Yeah.
It's hard to say, really. I wouldn't really say there's one team that's underrated. I think one team that I wish got more involved in Smash, or rather that I wish people paid more attention to, is Onslaught. So I was part of Onslaught in I believe in 2017. And I know they're more involved. I'm not sure exactly what games they're involved with now, but they're not as involved in the Smash community. But I think they're a team that I had a lot of fun with, and they're a team that they really took care of me. And I just looking at the website now. They play a lot of Paladins. They play Rocket League, Fortnite. I think they're a great team. I think they were really, really great. But currently, I'm with Even Matchup Gaming at the moment, which is the team behind Get On My Level, and I think they're an amazing team, and I really enjoy being a part of them. I think they do so many great things, and they have a great mentality too when it comes to the community. They really care about making players feel welcome and having fun. There's the saying of work hard, play hard. And I think EMG really follows that mentality really well of you can have a really great event while also having a great time and having a lot of fun. A lot of tournaments like to have this very serious vibe, very competitive, hardcore vibe to them. So for example, Evo and Genesis, very premier tournaments. They're very, very, very high level, very professional. But when you look at even matchup gaming, you know, it's a little bit more laid back, a little bit more fun, you know, with get on my level, with let's make big moves and such. It's a little bit more community focused events, and I really, really like that about them. And that's I think something that they should receive a lot more credit for is that aspect.
Yeah, from all the tournaments I really wanted to participate or like go to, Gommel is probably one tops on my list. So I mean, amongst SmashCon and Frostbite and possibly, I think I think Shine. I think
Yeah,
those are-
Shine is really good too.
I think that those are the top 5. Interesting enough.
Yeah, no, there's I would say probably like Genesis, Frostbite, Evo, SmashCon, and I guess maybe Big House. Big House would be one of them.
Oh yeah, I miss Big House. Damn it.
Yeah, Big House.
Well, I think I'll change Big House, Shine for Big House, and I think I'll change. Maybe not. No, yeah, I'll change Frostbite for Smash Factor.
Yeah, true. Oh, CEO as well is another very, very big tournament. CEO. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jacinto, that's it for joining the Tacho Gang. Thank you so much for the follow. Well, going back to the questions, how, when, where, and why did you got into tournament organizing?
So I've been organizing tournaments ever since I got into the community. So I used to help out a lot with my local Smash Club, and I would run the weeklies for my local Smash Club, and I would also help tournaments around New England, like smaller weeklies and some regionals. I've helped a little bit with majors, but not really, just more so as a volunteer, you know. I wasn't really focused on running tournaments for a while because, again, to me, it was more so about just helping the community, and I was more focused on competing. But as I got more into tournament organizing, and as I got into Ultimate, I really started having a lot of fun with it, and I realized that I was a lot better at it than I thought I was, and I started growing a real passion for it, and I realized that there was there was a lot of what can I say? I had a certain perspective on organizing tournaments that I think other TOs didn't have at the time. You know, because I've been an active player for so long, and because I competed at a higher level, I understood certain things about tournaments that I think other people didn't. And I understood the community in a certain way that I think other people didn't. And so I wanted to really bring that out to the tournaments that I hosted, and I really wanted to work on that when helping grow the community. And that's something that I'm personally very proud of, is that I'm really able to relate to all these players and really get to work with them and say like, hey, I know what you feel like, I know how you think, and I know that, like, you know, I understand what you're going through and I understand what you want, so I can try to bring that as best as I can. So that's why I got into tournament organizing.
Awesome. Can you tell me the stories on how did you create the tournaments known as Return to Subspace, Settle the Score, and Florida Arcadian?
Yeah. So Return to Subspace was probably the first tournament that I organized myself, that I started like from the ground up. The reason being that I made that tournament is that I remember the anniversary of Brawl was coming up. I think it was the 10-year anniversary of Brawl.
Yeah.
And I was looking around for a tournament that was kind of like celebrating that, and I didn't really find any tournaments that really celebrated Brawl during Smash 4. You know, 64 have their own anniversary events. Melee has its own anniversary events. And obviously Smash 4 was the current game, so there wasn't really a need for that. But Brawl didn't really have like an anniversary event as far as I knew. And there was there's a lot of great players from Brawl that came into Smash 4. And I think a lot of people gave too much hate on Brawl, and I think that game deserved a lot more love. So I wanted to do something for the game and to give it respect, and so that's why I started Return of Subspace, and it was really popular. I've gotten a bunch of like older Brawl players to come out, some people that we haven't heard of in years, and I was really happy about that. In terms of settle the score, it was just I wanted to give I wanted to host a regional for Gainesville. Gainesville it's a college scene, so they're used to having a lot of free events. They don't really, because it's a college, college students don't really have a lot of money, so they don't really travel outside of Gainesville that much, so they don't really know what some of these bigger regional and major events are like. So I wanted to give something back to them and give them a taste of what it's like to have a more of like not a major per se, but just like having a different kind of event for Gainesville. And so that's why I started Settle the Score. And for the Florida Arcadian, it was similar to Return of Subspace. Every region in Florida, they had Arcadian events in the past. So like Orlando had an Arcadian event. South Florida had an Arcadian event. Tampa had an Arcadian event, but there wasn't a Florida-wide, statewide official Arcadian, and I wanted to be the first one to really put that out there, and it was really, really successful, and everyone loved it. So it's very similar kind of idea.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. I mean, I love the story behind how they create Return to Subspace. But wait, hold up. Now that I think about it, wasn't a Maryland and MDVA tournament? I'm thinking about Pound, but it's not Pound. It wasn't Glitch that was organized.
Ran
Brawl. If I'm mistaken.
I know there was a tournament at one point in Smash 4. I think it was called the Revival of Brawl.
Yeah.
That was a tournament that happened in 2017, 16. I don't remember when exact. Around that time.
Yeah.
But I know unfortunately it didn't gain a lot of traction. I think because the date of the event was I think it was during a holiday or something, and I think that's why it didn't really get a lot of entrance. But I'm just happy that Return of Subspace got a bunch of attention, so I'm really happy about that.
Yeah, me too. How is organizing some of the biggest offline majors in Smash history, such as CEO and SmashCon?
It's been insane, man. I was in terms of for CEO, I was one of the main tournament organizers for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. At CEO Dreamland specifically, and during CEO 2019, I was a stream runner for CEO 2019.
Right.
So I wasn't part of the head organizers. I was more so running the tournament, but I still helped obviously with the rule sets and everything. And for SmashCon, I was one of the head tournament organizers for Brawl at SmashCon 2019. I didn't run Ultimate at SmashCon. I ran Brawl. And it was huge for me because I've always wanted to get more involved with these majors at a deeper level outside of just being like a volunteer, outside of just running pools, and just being able to have such a leadership position was such a big deal to me. It was such a huge step in my career. It was definitely a lot of pressure too, just knowing that you have to run this bracket with hundreds and thousands of players. But it was a blast, man. I'm really thankful I got the opportunity, and I'm really hoping that we get to have these events again offline. That way I can host these events for everyone.
Yeah, maybe in 2022, possibly.
Yeah, hopefully, man. Hopefully.
Well, this is a long question, but during the last days of June of 2018, in the tournament known as CEO 2018, in winner semifinals of the pool G4, you were able to make one of the biggest off-stream upsets in Smash 4 history by taking one of the best Japanese players of that era, better known as Komori Kiri, with one of the low-tier characters in that game known as Little Mac. What was your mentality before during and after the set?
So, it's funny you say that. So that match, that pool that I was in was actually in the morning. It was the very first pool of the day. It was a 10 a.m. pool. And I remember the night before, I was staying at a friend's house. And I was just like, I was not excited at all to play Komurakiri. Because in my head, it's like, I'm playing Little Mac, he's playing Sonic. It's 10 a.m., I don't want to get timed out by Sonic in the morning. I wasn't really motivated. I just wanted to do the best. I was like, I'm gonna give it my best. I'm gonna give it my best shot. And I wasn't really expecting to win the day before, because Komurakiri is such a good player and everything.
Of course.
And I actually thought I was even thinking of going my secondary. I was still like, oh, I'm gonna go Roy. I'm just gonna have fun. Like this is just I just want to learn basically. Yeah. And so the match happened, and I played game one, and I ended up losing game one. I was like, okay, I lost game one. I expected this.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I was like, okay, look, okay, well, I could switch characters now, but I'm like, look, I'm not gonna get this opportunity very often, right? Like, it's not very often that I get to play against Komurakiri. It's not very often that I get to play against these like top players. And I thought, you know what? No, I can do this. I know how to use my character. I know how to fight Sonic. I shouldn't get scared of having to play against like a top player. I know I can beat him. I can figure him out. I can do this. And so game two started, and I played the best I possibly could, and I really try to keep my nerves. I try to keep my cool. And as the match went on, I realized that wait, I was doing pretty well, and during game two specifically, I was doing a lot better than game one. And I realized wait, I actually have a chance here. I could beat this guy. And as the match going, obviously he was camping me really, really hard, and he was really trying to time me out and everything. It was really, really challenging. But I kept pushing forward. I was like, no, I can beat this guy. I can beat this guy. And when I finally got the winning kill, the KO punch at the end of the set, I remember I got up from my chair, I wanted to pop off, but I was also I was really happy, and I tried to pop off, but I was so shocked that I actually got the set that I was just I didn't know how to react, because I was I didn't expect it. I didn't know at all. I was I was not expecting to beat Komurakiri at 10 a.m. with Little Mac. That was the last thing on my mind. So I was just I said good game, we fist bumped, and I was just surprised. I was just shocked. I was just I don't know what to say. I was just really happy. I was just really, really happy, really proud of myself. And then I tweeted about it and everything, and I was like, wow, I really beat Komurakiri. This is insane. So I'm really to this day, people still bring up that win to this day. I'm really, really proud of it. I mean, hopefully one day I can have a win of that level, but I'm super proud of myself.
Yeah, I bet you are. I mean, I keep watching that set. I mean, I don't like watching Smash 4, but that is one of those sets that I keep watching, camera with the cell phone and everything, because it was off stream, but it was such an awesome set. What's your opinion on online tournaments, and do you think it's easier to run an online tournament compared to offline?
So I wouldn't say it's easier to run an online tournament compared to offline. I think both online and offline events have different challenges. I think offline events are harder in some aspects and easier in some aspects, and online tournaments are easier in some aspects and harder in other aspects.
Of course.
I think one aspect of online tournaments that's easier is that you don't have to worry about setups, you don't have to worry about the venue. Every player is its own setup, and everyone's just playing online, so you don't need to put as much money into it, and everyone can play their matches at the same time. So bracket goes by a lot faster. I think that's one big bonus of running an online tournament. However, one thing that is harder about running online tournaments is that because every match is happening all at once, and because these tournaments are a lot bigger on average, you have to manage a lot more people at once. So for example, in a tournament, you know, for example, during a major, you only have a couple pools going on at once. You have maybe like, you know, 8 to 16 pools going on at once, and you can kind of control the pace of the tournament, so you can better manage players as issues come up. But in an online tournament, when you have 1,000 players playing all at once, if like 50 of those players have an issue all of a sudden, they're all gonna come request one right away. And so you have to instantly respond to them. You have to be ready to instantly respond to things and instantly take care of things. And there's a lot more pressure to be a lot more responsive, and you have to multi-manage and multitask a lot more things with online tournaments. So there's some times where like we're not doing anything when we're running online tournaments because everything's going really well. But when there's like a lot of issues that come up at once, like it's a whole mess, and it's a big it's a shit show really. And so it's again, it's easier in some ways and it's challenging in other ways. So there's you know, ups and downs to it.
Two questions that I missed the opportunity to ask before. Sorry about it. Back in Smash 4, I guess, because I don't know if you did it in Ultimate, but how is playing and organizing a tournament at the same time?
It wasn't that hard to me because I was mostly focusing on like local tournaments, and it was more like, you know, small like 20-30 man tournaments. So to me, I didn't really have a problem with it. But when it came to the bigger tournaments, you know, like when it came to like 100 or 200 entrants, or when I helped out with Shine, for example, I definitely couldn't do both at the same time, and I usually had to pick whether I wanted to play in the tournament or whether I wanted to help out with the tournament. And again, you know, I was able to manage it because the community was smaller in Smash 4, but with Ultimate, there was no way I could do that, and I had to choose, and I was like, I'm gonna go with TOing, so.
Yeah, of course. With the recent patch in Ultimate, that has been giving TOs a round of gas, of this is relieving. How do you feel about the fact that you're not gonna screen disconnect your pro controllers again?
Dude, I would have never imagined that they would add that feature in Smash. You know, it's such an iconic line amongst TOs of just saying like disconnect your pro controllers, and figuring out, you know, who's got their Wiimote, who's got their pro controller in their bag. So the fact that they added that in after so long it's such a miracle, honestly. I'm so happy that they added that in. Like, I mean, part of me is gonna miss that, you know, is gonna miss yelling that out to players. But like, I'm just really happy about that. I'm so happy about it.
I bet you are. I mean, of course, there's gonna be a lot of like, oh, I miss when I was saying disconnect your pro controller, but then at the same time, I will be in this situation like, why would I miss this? It was awful. So
yeah, no, it was a pain. And you always have like some players were really good about disconnecting their pro controllers, but you always have that one guy who forgets what setup he was paired to and walks off somewhere and like starts like putting stuff in his bag and he presses a button. And it's such a pain, dude. But like,
yeah,
I'm just glad we finally have at least a solution for it. So.
Of course. Well, aside from tournament organizing, how do you got into writing guides, and why was the reason for that?
How did I get into what specifically? You said?
I mean, in Cagt.gg, there's just one part of that where I was kind of confused, but really interested. That you wrote 2 guides, one in online tournament organizing, and another in another aspect. How did you got into that, and why was the reason for that?
So, I think that one big problem that the community has is that if you want to grow as a tournament organizer and if you want to improve as a tournament organizer, I think there isn't a lot of resources available. There aren't a lot of ways to learn how to properly organize tournaments. Because, you know, because the scene is so grassroots, a lot of it is relied on people just helping out, right? And people figuring out things by themselves, and you have to do it. It's trial and error basically. And a lot of people also don't know how to get involved with the bigger events, or they don't know how to organize these bigger regional and major tournaments. And so what I wanted to do is I wanted to help out those TOs and help out those players and say, hey, let me help you, let me teach you how to properly organize these tournaments and how to really, and a way for you to understand what goes on behind the scenes, And in terms of online tournaments specifically, when the pandemic started, a lot of people moved over to online tournaments, but they didn't really understand how online tournaments worked. And because these online tournaments started blowing up in terms of entrance, no one really knew what the proper way was to organize them. And so I really wanted to make sure that things were done properly, and really wanted to guide people to on how to lead the scene and how to make these events as best as possible. So that was my inspiration for it, is to help TOs grow, give them something to look forward to, give them a reference point, and also being able to teach players what goes on behind the scenes. That was my main inspiration.
That's awesome. Like I said before the podcast even started, you're literally one of my heroes, because not only in Smash community but in general, because you were able to do a bunch of different things to help the community, to help other communities grow. I mean, I want to be that person. I want to be the guy that helps with rankings, that helps with tournament organizing, that helps with balance the players in different regions. If one player goes to a region that region doesn't know about it, I want to be that player that says no, he's really good. You don't see him in last place, because he's gonna do a lot of upsets, and you're gonna be like, oh damn it, I messed it up. So that's really fine. Thank you. I mean, honestly, see, people think that a lot of times when they see that I'm very involved in the community and they see me doing a lot of things, some people assume that oh, maybe I've had someone that taught me how to do this. Maybe I took a degree in esports or something, or maybe I have some super secret contact with people. It's no, I'm not kidding. Everything I do for the community is literally just because I literally just do it, which is, it sounds easier said than done, obviously, but I pay attention a lot to the community, and I do a lot of research on my own time. I'm always paying attention to social media, paying attention to Discords, and paying attention to how things work. And I just figure out okay, what's something in the scene that's missing? What's something that I think the community needs? Or what's something that players have been constantly asking for that no one is stepping up to do? And what can I do to make it happen? And so I try my best, okay, for example, we have all these online events, but no one knows where to find these online events, or everyone's organizing these events out on the same day. So what can I do to prevent that? Okay, we need to make a calendar. Okay, I'm gonna make a calendar. And so I take my time, I make the calendar, and I'm like, hey guys, there's an online calendar, use the calendar. Or it's people are oh, I want to learn how to TO. Okay, here's a guide on how to TO, stuff like that. And that's what I try to do, honestly. I learn as much as I can, I study as much as I can, and I just do as much as I can, I don't want people to think that, just because you're not a prominent figure, just because you're not popular, just because you don't have 20,000 followers on Twitter, right, doesn't mean you can't get involved. I have a pretty good following myself, but when I first started in the community, I didn't have 3,000. I had a couple hundred followers like everyone else, and even a year ago, I didn't have a ton of followers. So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how famous you are. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a part of these big organizations or not. As long as you are able to help the community in some way, you can do something to help the community. And so really, you have to find that motivation. You have to find what part of the community are you the best at? What are your best qualities, and what can you do to contribute to the community? Obviously people can give you advice of oh, well, I think you should do this, I think you should do that. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to decide what you want to do in this community. Of course. Well, you're Well, going back to the questions, but first of all, thank you so much. Like, I don't know, it gives me a lot of hope, and it gives me a lot of like reasons to grow a community or be a part of different one, and it helps me a lot. Thank you. Well, going back to the questions, you're also one of the many helpers in some of the rankings, including the PGR, the European Smash rankings, among others. How is the whole process behind it, and how stressful it is to run rankings?
So for the PGR, so I was a one of the X Factor panelists. So I didn't decide like the main PGR that everyone knows,
Of course.
but I was one of the people that helped with the X Factor, which is it's more of like the community ranking. It's like if a player is ranked number 10, but like what does the community think they are? And so that's where I came in. I basically rated all the players from like 1 to 10, deciding if like what basically giving them like a rating in terms of like what I believe their skill level is compared to their results, and from there they compile everything and make the X Factor ranking.
Yeah.
And same, and so for the other rankings, however, for like the Mac Nation rankings, for the European rankings, for those I was more involved with the actual ranking itself, and I was helping, compare all the results and everything. It's a lot of like looking at the data, but I think one big aspect of rankings is you can't just look at the data itself. So for example, if a player top 8's a lot of tournaments, on paper it looks really good, right? Because like, oh, you're making top 8, so you must have a lot of great wins and everything. But you also have to look at the bracket that player had and look at who they beat and who they lost to, because it's very common a lot of times for players to make it far because they had an easier bracket, or to lose a lot earlier than expected because they had a harder bracket. And so you really have to balance things out. And different countries and different scenes have different strengths when it comes to their communities. Some communities are stronger than others. So like, for example, getting top 8 in one tournament means more than getting top 8 in another tournament, even if they have the exact same amount of entrants. So you have to be able to compare the two, and you have to be able to understand, the context behind all these different wins and these different rankings. So it's definitely harder than it looks, and not everyone can really accurately make these rankings. But again, because I'm involved with so many different people in similar different communities, I'm able to really understand better how they work and really be able to give my input on all these different players. So that's how I got involved in so many different rankings.
Yeah. Well, you're also a great designer for power rankings, banners, stream layouts, player cards, result graphics, and thumbnails. How do you got into design and to graphic design, and what do you like to design the most? I never took any graphic design courses. I never studied graphic design. I never did anything art related. Never, ever, ever. I've never done anything of the sort. Literally, how I got into graphic design is in middle school. I got my laptop and I saw everyone do cool stuff on Photoshop, and I shouldn't admit this, but I'm gonna say it. I got on Pirate Bay. I downloaded Photoshop on the Pirate Bay in middle school, and I just messed around in Photoshop in middle school and high school. I was like, I want to do cool stuff on Photoshop, and this is sick. And so that's how I learned. And like when I got into the community, people were like, oh, I need a stream layout, I need a power ranking. I'm like, hey, I can use Photoshop, I can do a power ranking. And so like my first stream layouts and everything were really bad, but like I just kept doing like a bunch of them like over and over again, and I kept looking at like how other people did stream layouts and how other people did power rankings, and I just kind of learned by experience, like, okay, I need to do this, I need to do that, oh, these colors go well together, these images go well together, and I just the more I did it, the better I got at it, and eventually I ended up doing a bunch of design stuff. So it's literally just purely by trial and error. That's literally how I learned it. And what do you like to design the most nowadays?
My favorite thing to design is definitely power rankings. I think it's super fun. Not only putting out like a graphic with all these like being able to represent all these top players from a certain region, but also coming up like with a really fun theme for that region. You know, there's because with power ranking, you can have a theme for so many different things. You know, around a video game, around a TV show, around whatever you want really. And it's always I always have a blast really finding a bunch of images and like putting like a collage together and like designing something really really cool for that community. I love making power rankings. I love it.
Awesome. You're currently sponsored by Even Matchup Gaming. How and when do you
Correct.
got into that sponsor, and do you like it so far?
I got with Even Matchup Gaming in June, so in the beginning of the summer of 2021, actually.
Wow.
And so I haven't been with them for a very long time. It's really, I got involved. As you know, I've gotten very involved with online events, and I started running a lot of the big tournaments, and I very quickly became very trusted as like a prominent online tournament organizer.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been friends with the guys from Even Matchup Gaming, and I think they realized as they wanted to get into online events and as they wanted to start organizing, with Get on My Level online and with the Gummel NA Open, they wanted to start getting into that, and they figured like, well, hey, Cactus knows a lot about online tournaments. Let's bring him on for these online tournaments. And so I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm super down to join the team, and it's been great, honestly. They're a great bunch of guys, and they've given me, as much as obviously I'm part of EMG and I've worked a lot with them. They also give me a lot of freedom, and they let me grow my own brand, and they let me work with other organizations, which is amazing. And they've gotten me a lot of great opportunities too. So I'm very happy to be with EMG. Very very happy.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. Well, you're also currently affiliated with Duo Studios and Florida Smash Hub. How and when did you got into those orgs, and how do they help you?
So Duo Studios is a production company that's in Gainesville. It's a production company that focuses on esports actually, but they do a lot of other things in production as well.
Okay.
And funny enough, Duo Studios is actually the reason why I moved to Florida. When I was in New England, I was looking at moving out anyways, and I was looking to expand into another region. And Duo Studios actually reached out to me at the end of 2018, and they offered me a job as an esports consultant as part of Duo Studios, and they wanted to bring me on for Florida Smash events. And so it's thanks to them that I was able to move to Florida and able to really get involved in the Florida community. So I owe a lot to them really, and I thank them so much. They're really great people. Like whenever I have any events in Florida, I always have production from Duo Studios. Always, always, always. In terms of the Florida Smash Hub, that's actually something that I started myself. And so what the Florida Smash Hub is a central location for everything related to the Florida scenes, whether it's tournaments, streams, power rankings, updates, announcements, everything regarding the Florida scene. That's what the Florida Smash Hub is. It's a place for people to learn and explore the Florida scene, and for players to really follow. And I've been working on that for about 1.5 years now, and it's been amazing, really. So this is that's something that I've been working on personally myself.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. Well, we've been talking a lot with Cagt. Now I want to talk with Cyrus for a little bit. Well, tell us, what do you like to do besides playing video games and, of course, organizing tournaments?
There's a lot. There's a couple of things that I like doing. Obviously I love anime a lot. I love watching a lot of animes. I've been replaying through a lot of like older games recently. For example, I've been going through the Devil May Cry series. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I'm actually really into speedrunning. So some people might know the GoldenEye 64 on the Nintendo 64, one of my favorite games of all time. I've been speedrunning that game for like 6 years now. Not like super seriously, obviously not like a high level speedrunner or whatever, but like I consider myself a pretty decent GoldenEye speedrunner, and I've been trying my best to practice here and there. It's a way for me to have fun and just really relax and play something that I like and not really have to worry too much about it. retro gaming in general is a really big thing of mine. It's something that I really love doing. It's I don't. I just have a, I'm not saying that like, oh, like video games were better in the past. You know, obviously all games are great, but I think the nostalgia aspect of it too, and just being reminded of what it's like to play games as a kid is a big deal to me. And I think that's why I love playing the N64 so much, is because it reminds me of what it was like as a kid, like playing in my bedroom, playing with my brother. So that's something that I love to do outside of tournaments. That's probably the biggest thing.
Alright, cool. Well, as far as I know, you're also a photographer in events and off events as well. How do you got into it, and what equipment do you use?
So again, same thing for photography. I remember like sometime in like when I was like 12 or 13, whenever we would go on like our vacation trips with my parents, my dad at one point bought like a very fancy like DSLR camera, like a very fancy high-end camera, because bunch of pictures of our family trips and he wanted them to be like the best quality possible. So he's like, oh, I'm gonna buy a really expensive camera. And he didn't really end up using it that much. So I kind of just ended up like taking my dad's camera and just kind of having fun with it and taking pictures myself. And I took some pictures like in high school and everything, but it was mostly just for fun or like some art projects and whatever.
Yeah.
And when I got in the community, there were a couple of times where I thought like, hey, like, well, I have a camera and I know a lot of like local events and a lot of events don't really have a lot of like pictures taken of them. And so I wanted to get into that more, and I ended up like getting more into photography. A lot of big majors, when they take photos of the events, they focus on the top players, right? They focus on like MKLeo, they focus on Tweak, they focus on Samsung, they focus on all these big players, and they focus on like all the booths and everything.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of majors, a lot of events that don't focus on the general public, and they don't have enough pictures that captures the atmosphere of the event. And like your regular like day-to-day, like your regular attendee, your regular person attending these events, like a lot of people, like they really want to be in these pictures. They really want to have something to show to their friends and family and say, hey, look, I was at this event. And people is always super excited when they get a picture taken at an event. So whenever I take photos at an event, I always try to take pictures of the community and say, well, I know everyone's gonna like, there's gonna be like a bunch of photographers of these top players. Let me focus on the people that don't get as many photos taken of them, and let me take a photo of them and show those guys and what they're like. So that's what I like doing with photography.
That's awesome. I mean that's generally awesome because, like you said, that people get people like to get that notoriety, at least if it is in a small gas, if it is like in a crowd or anything. So it's really cool for you to do that, and major applause.
Thank you.
Well, you mentioned before that you were in a university. What exactly were you studying, if I may ask?
You're asking where I studied in university?
Yeah.
So I studied at Wentworth Institute of Technology, which is like a college in Boston.
Yeah.
And I studied computer networking. Funny enough, that's what I studied for 2.5 years. And I actually did not graduate from college. I ended up actually getting kicked out of college halfway through my 3rd year because my grades were bad. When I grew in the community, I was not good at balancing college and Smash, and I put a lot more focus on Smash and esports, and I didn't really focus on my studies as much. I was never really that good in school. And my university gave me a bunch of warnings of like, look, you need to raise your grades, you need to get better grades and everything. And I tried my hardest to balance the two, but I never really quite managed to like balance out my grades. And eventually they're like, look, your grades are just really bad. We can't have you study here anymore, like you need to go. And my dad was not happy at all. He was really disappointed in me because he's like, you're supposed, like, he really, like, you need to focus on your studies, you need to get a degree and everything. And like, obviously, like, I was really sad too, but like deep down, I was actually really happy that I wasn't in college anymore, because it just meant that I could just focus on esports more, and it meant that I could focus on tournaments more. I could focus on Smash more, and it ended up being a really good thing for me because I was able to do so many more things because I had so much more free time, and I was just really happy about it. So like, I did study in college, but I never actually finished college.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, with in terms of college, I want to build something on my own first, and working at something that I like, and doing streamings, and working myself through the Smash community, and then later on when I'm like 25, 26, or 27, starting like going to a college that I like. I really want, one of my biggest dreams outside of Smash, I really wanted to be a screenwriter. I love to write and everything. So if I have like an economic situation where I can study and be myself into the cinematography world, then that would be awesome. But first, I want to focus on the things that I love aside from that. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's awesome. Actually, it's funny you say that. So my brother is actually works in the film industry. He works as a yeah, he does set decoration for a lot of big movies. Like, so like whenever you see like the decoration and the sets and everything, like he's the one that takes care of that. And he loves it, man. It's a lot of fun, and I respect him a lot for it. And I respect you too for wanting to get into that. I think that's great, man. I mean, props to you. A lot of respect.
thank you. I mean, aside from Smash, like movies in general, like the media in terms of like TV and everything, for me is like another world. Like not only in terms of acting and special effects, like how it is right, how did they wrote it, how's the story, how's the sound mixing, how's the music, how's the costumes, how's the hairstyle and makeup, everything in a movie or in a TV show, for me is special, and for me to be a part of it, it will just mean everything.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's funny because like, everyone watches movies, everyone knows what movies are like, but I think a lot of people don't really know what goes into making a movie, and a lot of people get very critical of movies. They like, whenever they don't like a movie, they'll say like, oh, this movie sucks, this movie is trash and everything, and like, oh, I don't like this actor, I don't like the story there, and this and that. But like, people don't realize like the amount of work and time and money and passion that goes into making these movies, and the type of story that the screenwriters want to give out. And at the end of the day, like, it's something that's really really hard to do. And I think even if you don't like a certain movie, like, sure, there are movies that are bad in the sense that they weren't made well, but I think when people don't like a movie, they automatically think it's a bad movie, as opposed to saying, "Oh, it's not the kind of movie I like," or "It's not a movie that like I can like connect with," And I think that's a really important distinction that people need to realize. Like, a movie can still be very good, and you're allowed to not like the movie, but just because you didn't like the movie doesn't mean it's a bad movie.
Exactly, of course. I mean, I can say that I hate The Lion King, but at the same time, I don't think it's necessarily a bad movie. I just don't like it
Yeah,
at all.
yeah,
I know
exactly.
it's a
And
great.
I'm sure like
I know
you'll
it's
get.
a great film. I just hate it. I just cannot
Yeah,
stand
I mean,
it.
I'm sure a lot of people will like try to call you out and say like, "Oh, why do you hate The Lion King? It's such an amazing movie." Like, dude, like, for example, I don't watch a lot of Disney movies. I don't really like a lot of Disney movies, and a reason why I don't like the Disney movies, and I've gotten a lot of complaints about that, is because I don't like the singing in Disney movies. I never liked it when they would always sing in Disney movies, because to me it was
Yeah.
like, I don't care about the singing. I want to learn about the story. I want to learn what happens next. I don't, and I just didn't like the song. So like, I never really liked a lot of Disney. They're still fun to watch, but like, they're not my favorite. And so when I meet people that are like that love Disney movies, and I tell them like, oh yeah, I don't like Disney that much. They freak out. They're like, what the hell, dude? What the fuck? Like blah blah. Blah. And I'm like, no, dude, it's just not my favorite thing. I'm sorry. Like I'm sure it's a great movie, but like I don't like it. It's not my thing.
Of course, it happens to me. It happens to me a lot. The same. That's why I prefer to watch other things that are not necessarily Disney, like Pixar, for example. Like I think there's just one movie where I think there's just Coco that focus on music, but and Soul, of course. But other than that, they focus on the story more than in the sound and everything. So yeah, I can see your point, of course.
Mhm.
Well, going back to the questions, it's been 1 year with the quarantine, and how do you feel about this new reality? And has COVID affected you in any way other than Smash?
Um, it's definitely been challenging. COVID, I want to say. Thankfully, I'm very lucky that I didn't get COVID myself, and none of my family members or close friends got COVID. So I'm very thankful for that. But it's definitely been really hard, man. Just I mean, I love being at home, as much as the next guy, but just like not being able to travel as much, not being able to see my friends, not being able to really live my day-to-day life is definitely it's rough, man. And I wish things could go back to normal. I wish I could just, be able to live my life the way I did before. Because it's hard, man. I know it gets rough sometimes because I try my best to have like a positive mentality and to tell myself like, oh, we could still, we're gonna push through this. We're gonna beat COVID. We're gonna have the vaccine. Like I know we're at the end of the tunnel, and things are starting to look up really, and we're starting to make a lot of progress. But it's definitely it's rough, man. Sometimes mentally, it's really really rough. But I'm hanging in there. I'm doing the best I can, and I think I've adapted to what's going on, and I'm still able to keep in contact with the people I love, and just doing the best I can to keep in touch. And like I have traveled a few times during the pandemic, like very sparingly to go to Boston to check on my parents and everything.
Yeah.
But I really hope COVID ends soon, man. It's getting really exhausting. Like I don't know if I can take another year of this.
Well, I'm gonna take a bathroom break, so and I'm gonna come back in 1 minute. So
Yeah, do your thing.
no, no, okay.
Yeah. What's up?
There's gonna be. We're gonna start with some of my favorite. This is gonna be one of my favorite parts of the podcast. It's the moment I've been waiting for. The lightning round questions of the podcast. We're gonna take some random questions from the webpage as well as a couple related to Smash or video games. So, Cagt, are you ready?
I'm ready, man. Go ahead.
Are you sure?
I think I'm sure. I'm pretty sure I'm ready. I don't know. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Alright, cool. First question. What do you think is Lil Mac's worst skin? Worst alt?
Oh god, worst alt. Well, let me look up the skins real quick just so I have a reference. Which skin is worse? I would say. I think the blonde one is the worst. I think blonde Little Mac is the worst. I'm sorry, like I know it's supposed to be a reference to Super Punch Out on the Super Nintendo, but like blonde Mac just doesn't look good. I'm sorry, blonde Mac does not look good. No.
It's funny because I think it was a couple weeks back. I had Peanut, one of the best Lil Mac players nowadays with online, and he said exactly the same. Like I think there's no Mac main that says, "Oh no, the blonde one is the best one." I don't think so.
Oh yeah, no. There's like there's some people that like they'll like using the blonde Mac, but it's not the best one. I'm sorry.
What's your favorite ice cream flavor? Please don't say Manila chocolate.
I'm very yeah.
Tell me at least you like pineapple pizza.
Okay, it's not okay. At least I don't like not plain chocolate, not just like basic just chocolate. I like chocolate with like other things, so like chocolate and hazelnut, for example, or like chocolate vanilla, like chocolate with like other things, not just a basic chocolate like ice cream.
I was like, please don't tell me it is mint chocolate ice cream.
I thought you said mainly chocolate. No, I don't like mint chocolate. I do not like mint chocolate. No, I do not. No. I hate mint chocolate. No, that I don't. If it's like chocolate and hazelnut or like chocolate vanilla, that's fine. But mint chocolate, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, cool. What about Hawaiian pizza? I mean pineapple.
I don't like pineapple pizza. I don't. I'm sorry. My favorite kind of pizza is meat lovers pizza. Like beef, pepperoni, sausage. Like that's my favorite kind of pizza.
Alright. I mean, have you tried pineapple pizza?
I have tried pineapple pizza. I have actually eaten it. I'm not just saying it to be like a hater. Like I have actually eaten pineapple pizza, and I don't like it. I'm sorry. It's just not my thing.
Okay, cool. Do you tolerate spicy food?
I do, yeah. I'm not like a god with like spice. Like I'm not the kind of god that like. I don't know how tolerant I am of like. I'm not gonna go ahead and claim like, oh, I can eat like a Carolina Reaper and not feel anything. I'm not saying that, but I can tolerate spicy food. I like spicy food. I can eat spicy food like that. I don't mind spicy food at all.
Alright, cool. I personally love spicy food, and thank God that nowadays I live with my girlfriend that also loves spicy food. Because my parents think that black pepper is already really spicy. So.
Oh, okay, yeah, different levels, yeah.
And
actually,
and I'm like, Tabasco is not spicy. It's basically ketchup.
do you know the show Hot Ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I love Hot Ones personally, and I would like, it's my dream one day to like be on Hot Ones and actually get to see like how far I can make it on those chicken wings. Or like at least I want to try it like at home or something. But like I would love to be on that show one day. It's so fun.
I mean, technically you can. It won't be hot ones. It will be like hot ones with HBox. I don't know if you lost it.
True.
But it won't be that. It won't be hot ones, but it won't be that.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't know if he's still doing hot ones like HBox. If he is, like, I mean, I'm down to be on it. I'm super down. Like,
I think.
I mean,
pandemic.
He does or he doesn't.
I think he doesn't because of the pandemic.
Oh, that's probably true. Yeah, probably.
I think that's the only reason. But otherwise, I think he doesn't tolerate spicy food that much. Anyways, as a mod of online tournaments, what are some of the most memorable messages on those chats on Smash GG?
Oh boy.
Please don't say racist stuff.
No, I won't.
Okay.
There's a lot. Oh my god. Let's see. What's going on? So, okay. So there was one guy who so we had a lack test and there was a connection issue, and I said, okay, let's come in. Can you guys both send me proof of LAN? Can you guys both show me that you have a LAN adapter? And one of them told me like, oh, I can't go on Discord. I can't send it to you on Discord. I'm like, why can't you send me on Discord? He's like, I'm actually grounded. I'm not allowed to go on Discord. I'm like, what do you mean you're grounded from Discord? I was like, that how are you on Smash GG if you're grounded from Discord? That doesn't make sense. He's like, no, I can explain. Look, I'm grounded. I can't send it to you on Discord. I'm like, okay, like. I can't send you proof of LAN. Like, can you use your phone or something? Like, no, I'm sorry, I can't. I'm grounded. I'm not supposed to be on here. I'm like, okay, well, it was so weird to me. I was like, I don't know what the hell I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I was like, well, if you're grounded, and I was like, how does that work? I was like, okay, well, in that case, if you can't prove me you have LAN, then you're DQ'd. You're out. And so, I DQ'd him, and so. I forgot to DQ him in losers as well, and eventually I found out in losers that he had to play against Hungrybox. And Hungrybox also called a lag test against him, was like, hey, this guy's lagging a lot, what's going on? So I came into the chat, and I noticed it was the same guy, and I was like, what the hell? Wait, I just DQ'd this guy. And so HBox loves to put like his Smash GG chat on his stream. So I called out the kid on Smash GG. I was like, wait, aren't you grounded? Why are you still playing? And so I called him out and DQ'd him on HBox's stream in front of thousands of viewers. And HBox just like burst out laughing, and I felt so bad for like exposing this kid in front of thousands of people. It was like the funniest thing. It was so funny, like I was great, like I had another guy, like there was another lag test where I was like, hey, can you both send me proof of LAN? And the guy straight up said like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, what do you mean you don't want to? He's like, no, I don't feel like I know I have LAN. I don't feel like sending you proof of LAN. I'm like, okay, well, if you don't feel like sending me proof of LAN, I don't feel like letting you play. It's that simple. And like after I DQ'd him, he's like, yo, what the hell, man? What the hell are these mods, man? They're abusing their powers. I'm like, dude, like you didn't send me proof of LAN. You didn't feel like it. Like, what am I supposed to do? And what's funny is that same player actually ended up winning the amateur bracket for that tournament. Like, I don't know, like, cause I DQ'd him from the main bracket, and I figured like, oh, he's not gonna play in the amateur bracket. And turns out he did play in the amateur bracket, and no one complained about lag, and he ended up winning. And I'm like, all right, look, at this point, like, I can't even say anything. I can't even be mad at you. Like, I guess you do have LAN after all, and you won the amateur bracket. So, like, you know what? Respect. You get a pass. I'm never gonna ask you for proof of LAN again.
Question: was it in Smash World Tour Mexico that a Hong Kong player got into the tournament? What's that?
Yeah, so we had a lag test come up during the Mexico qualifier.
Yeah.
And when we did the lag test, the program we use is called Stable Detect, and it tells us where the location of each players are. And it told us that the program was telling us that the player was from Hong Kong. And I was like, why is a player from Hong Kong in a tournament for Mexican players? And I never found out why he registered for it, but apparently I found out from his local scene that that guy is actually very famous for entering international events and intentionally lagging in these online events to abuse the lag and basically get free wins that way. So the guy was all doing it on purpose. And it's just like, I don't know why people would do that, dude. I don't understand. But like, I mean, I was like, I DQ'd him. I was like, what's funny, I didn't make a tweet about this. Someone from Hong Kong also registered for the Oceania event, and I also had to DQ him. It was a different account, like it was a brand new account. And like I told him like, hey man, like the program says you're from Hong Kong, or at least close to Hong Kong. What's going on? And he's like, whoa, what the hell, man? No, I promise you, I'm from like Oceania. I was like, okay, prove to me that you're from Oceania right now. Like send me like something on Google Maps or something to prove to me that you are in fact in Oceania, because right now I have every reason to believe that you're in Hong Kong. And he said, okay, give me your phone number. I'm gonna call you and I'm gonna explain to you that I'm in Oceania. I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Here's my phone number. Call me. Tell me over the phone that you are in Oceania. He never called me. he never called me. He never said a single word again. He never sent any sort of proof. He completely disappeared. I'm like, you know what? Whatever, man. Okay, it's the same person. Like. So yeah.
I think it was a while back ago. I think it was when the online tournament started with the pandemic. I think it was when the Switch was modded, so it had lag for the other person. But I think it was that, or it was like disconnected or something. I don't know. But it was. I think you tweeted it out. I don't know, it was like in the message, oh, I use a Switch that is not, I don't remember though.
Yeah. So, there's a thing called a lag switch. And what a lag switch does is it literally just makes it so that it's a switch, you flick it, and it basically like disrupts like the internet connection for your opponent and makes the match laggy. And so, it's, so there was a lag test, and I think I asked for proof of land or something, and the guy openly said, I have a lag switch. And we're like, wait, what? And I was like, just like, are you talking about a lag? Like I was explaining, like, is this what you're talking about? And he's like, yeah, I have a lag switch. I have a lag switch. Like this is for my internet connection. I have a lag switch. And I was like, you do know that's not allowed, right? Like you do know like you can't have that in tournament. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it. I'm just gonna disqualify myself. And so it really blew out of proportions. And like later on, I went to talk to the guy in DMs, and I was like, hey man, like, look, why do you have a lag switch? Like, why are you doing this? And so I talked to him more about it, and he's like, and he showed me a picture, and I'm like, that doesn't look like a lag switch. That looks like an actual, like a router. And I'm like, wait, do you speak, like, is English your first language? I'm like, do you speak Spanish or something? He's like, no, English is my first and only language. And I'm like, okay, do you understand what a LAN adapter is? He's like, I do. And do you understand what a router is and everything? He's like, oh, I do. I was like, okay, so why did you think this was a lag switch? Like, was there a confusion or something? And like, and basically he explained to us that like he sees that term thrown around a lot, and I guess he imagined that like having like he didn't know that having a lag switch was bad. He just saw the word thrown around a lot, and he figured that like, oh, a lot of people have a lag switch. So he basically he completely misunderstood how like things worked, and so he just said like, yeah, I have a lag switch. And so it was just like it was a huge misunderstanding, and I was like, I'm so sorry. Like it just in the moment, like we really thought, and like I explained to him, this is what a lag switch does. It disrupts the connections. Like, oh no, I don't have that. I was like, I'm so sorry. But it was really unfortunate, but dude, it was insane, dude. I have no idea how this could happen.
Yeah. Well, going back to the questions, what's your opinion on energy drinks, and do you usually drink them during tournaments?
I personally don't like energy drinks. I don't drink energy drinks at all. I don't like how they taste. Like, I don't like Red Bull. I don't like Monster. I don't like Gatorade. I've tried it. It doesn't taste good to me. I don't like it at all.
No, neither do I. They're
Like,
there's like
it's funny because yeah.
there's like 7 monsters here that my girlfriend and I drink. Like I think we drink this in 2 weeks, maybe 3. So,
I mean, like I drink a lot of soda, so it seems hypocritical that like I say like, oh, I don't like energy drinks, but I drink soda. But just I just it doesn't taste good to me, and like I don't know. I can't. I don't like. I know a lot of events are like sponsored by like Red Bull and everything, so it seems weird to me to say like, oh, I don't like Red Bull. Like again, I don't like the drink Red Bull, but like I mean the brand obviously is doing a lot to help the community, so obviously I'm very thankful. But like I don't drink energy drinks at all.
I mean, there was a tournament here in Argentina that was sponsored by Red Bull, and girls with backpacks giving Red Bulls to anyone, and I was like, I don't like Red Bull. What do? I take a sip just to be nice, and then give it to someone else that probably likes Red Bull more than me. But
Yeah, I know. Usually, like if I'm given Red Bull at an event, like I'll say thank you and I'll take it to be like polite. But then like later on, like I'll find someone else like, hey man, like you can have this Red Bull. I don't want it. You know, just to be polite.
yeah, exactly. But actually, monsters here in Argentina, I don't know how they taste there in the US, but here they taste like juice. So it doesn't taste like cough syrup or like any other like Red Bull or like Speed or any other drinks. So drinking something like Monster, it helps for like if you don't have water or you're just in a hurry and you want to drink something like I mean for me like literally it tastes like juice. It doesn't taste like syrup. So that's why I sometimes buy a Monster or anything.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's a specific kind of Monster or Red Bull that I would like better than like the regular Monster or Red Bull. But just in general, I try to stay away from like energy drinks. I try to just, I mean, I'll drink soda and I'll try to drink water too or something. But like, yeah, I don't like energy drinks.
Yeah, honestly, in a tournament setting, I prefer water over Monster. But if it is like for sugar levels or something like that, I prefer to drink a Monster. Question that I don't know how will you react, but here you go. Milk before cereal?
No. Cereal first, then milk. I'm sorry. Like, I don't get it. I don't know. Why would you put milk first? Why? Like, what's the point? Like, no, cereal first, then milk.
For me personally, I drink them from a cup. So putting the cereal first and then the milk, the cereal stays in the bottom. So it wouldn't make sense for me to put the cereal first because obviously it stays on the bottom instead of floating. And the reason I don't use it from a bowl is because it's messy as hell. So that for me that's the reasoning. And
that's fair.
Well, what's your favorite video game of all time aside Smash, if it is Smash?
Favorite video game of all time would be GoldenEye 64, the game that I speedrun. Definitely my favorite game. Outside of that and Smash, I would probably say the original Halo 1 is probably like my favorite game of all. Outside of those two, is my favorite game of all time. It's my brother played it a lot, and like I played it a lot with my cousins as a kid. And I've always loved the Halo series growing up. It's one of my favorite games of all time. I've spent thousands of hours in the Halo series. It's yeah, definitely Halo 1, man. Like it's so good. So good.
Yeah, Halo series is really good. Like until Halo 4, but
Yeah.
question. ¿Sabes hablar español?
No habla español.
Alright, cool.
I wish, man. I wish. Like, it's funny because I was running the Mexico qualifier like 2 weeks ago, and like obviously like a lot of folks spoke English, but a lot of them only spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
So I was literally the entire time using Google Translate to communicate with Spanish players and like communicating with them back and forth. I was like, I didn't speak Spanish. I was like, I need to like understand these players somehow. And like, we did have like Mexican TOs as well, but I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, unfortunately, no.
Do you still know how to speak in French though?
Oui, non, je parle toujours français. I didn't forget my French. I'm bilingual in both French and English, so yeah.
Cool. Do you know how to speak in other languages though?
I can understand Farsi, Persian, and I can speak it a little bit, but I can't really have like full conversations.
Of course.
But no, it's like English and French, a little bit of Farsi, and then that's it really.
Alright. If happiness had a smell, what would it smell like?
If happiness had a smell, what would it smell like?
Yeah.
If happiness had a smell, I feel like it would have like a very sweet smell. Like when I think of happiness, I think of like the smell of flowers, the smell of nature, the smell of the smell of flowers, the smell of nature, the smell of like the fresh air. That's what I would feel like. Because that's, to me, like happiness is like, obviously like everyone's got their own taste of happiness and their own definition of being happy. But to me, being happy, like a big part of being happy is having like a lot of freedom, a lot of independence. And so being able to go where I want, do what I want is very important to me. So that's why I think of like the fresh, like go around and like explore the world. So like explore the nature, etc. I think that's what I would think happiness smells like is fresh air, is nature basically. Yeah, the outside world basically.
Of course. For me personally, I think I see happiness as food, so I instantly smell things like coffee or like cinnamon probably, but I don't know. It is pretty interesting how different people think will smell like. So awesome.
Yeah, no, everyone's got their own. Yeah, everyone's got their own like definite like views of like what their favorite smell.
Of course. Well, last question. Who will you like to nominate so he or she could come to the podcast?
Who do I think should be on the broadcast?
On the podcast, yeah. Who would you like to nominate?
Oh man, there's a.
It could be different people, you know. It could be.
Yeah. That's a hard question. I'm trying to think. Like, there's. I mean, it's hard. There's a lot of people that could be on the podcast. I think. I think having someone like either like Aaron or Wadi, I think would be really great because I think they're very well-known players, but they're players with a great personality. They're very fun to be with, a lot of jokes, and they have a great sense of humor. And I think they would bring a really fun aspect to the podcast. So I recommend those guys. I recommend Aaron and Wadi. That's who I recommend. There's really funny guys, really great guys, great players. I recommend those guys.
Cool. I'll see what I can do. I actually asked Wadi, but he never responded. So No, I think I'll Aaron later. So, well, here's where the podcast is coming to an end. Thank you so much to Cagt. If the public wants to look up your social media, where they could find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Cagt3000, and you can also find my website, which is cagt.gg. I do everything on my Twitter. I post all my updates. That's where I post everything I do for the community. And if you look more into what I do in the scene and in the community, cagt.gg is the best way to do that. So those are the two places to look me up.
Awesome. Well, thank everyone who was watching the podcast. We're talking about Balls Gaming Sweden, Kukul, Suasa, Nairo Rejection, Verb, SSB, Simple say everyone who will watch this podcast in the future in my YouTube channel. I hope you had a blast, and don't forget to follow me or to subscribe. It will mean a lot to me, and it will make my community grow, and so you wouldn't miss the chance to watch another podcast. Thank you so much, Kat, for the follow.
No problem.
Well, like I said, thank you so much for anyone who watched. Thank you to Cagt. And well, here's where the podcast is coming to an end. See you tomorrow. Live long and prosper.